Losing the love of your life is an experience that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. I'm Gina, and I had the misfortune of losing my husband only 2 years after getting married. To be honest, I had a great life with him. I had just quit my job due to my risky pregnancy and was really looking forward to welcoming my daughter into our lives. But fate had other plans in mind. My husband got diagnosed with cancer when he was in the final stage. He struggled for 3 months before the horrible illness took him away from me. During this time, we had to move in with my mother-in-law Ellen and father-in-law Luke. They tried their best to support us, although I was the one taking full care of my husband. Still, we were grateful to have them house us when we couldn't afford rent anymore. When my husband passed away, I thought that I could rely on them for emotional support. Well, that was only wishful thinking on my end. As soon as my husband's funeral was over, Luke and Ellen started to treat me horribly. They even called me and my unborn daughter names because they considered us burdens. I assured them that I would soon find a job and start contributing to the bills, but they just wouldn't listen. Guys, they were not hurting for money. All their bills were being paid by my sister-in-law, Kathy, who had a very good job. Still, my in-laws were adamant that I was a burden and didn't deserve their help anymore. They said, "You better start looking at other options because I won't have a stranger living with us." "I'm not a stranger, Luke. I'm your own daughter-in-law." "Well, our son is not alive anymore, is he?" "So you are nothing to us anymore," Luke replied. "Guys, I understand that you don't want me in your house. I promise I will move out after getting a job. Please just let me stay here for a few days until the baby's born. You know this is a risky pregnancy." "In that case, you better lose the child," Luke coldly stated. My spine chilled at what my father-in-law said. I had expected Ellen to intervene and tell him off, but she seemed to agree with him. They told me how this would be the best option since they didn't want any responsibility for the child, not that I was asking them for anything. Things escalated when they drove me to an abortion clinic while telling me that they would take me for a health checkup. I kicked up a storm and left on my own. When I went back to the house, I was a crying mess and severely traumatized by Luke and Ellen trying to force me to abort my child. When they returned home, they said, "Why the hell did you run away from the clinic? We told you that you absolutely have to have an abortion. Why are you doing this to me?" "I cannot abort my child." "I will never do that," I replied. "We don't care, Gina. We are not going to take care of you and your child. Our son is dead, so you are not our problem anymore," Ellen coldly stated. "The baby I'm carrying is your granddaughter," I pleaded. "How can you even think about doing this? I am not getting an abortion no matter how hard you try. In that case, you better see yourself out. We will not have a stranger and her unwanted child living with us," Luke declared. I felt like I was hit with a ton of bricks. It hadn't even been a month since my husband died, and my in-laws wanted to kick me out. Ellen held me by my elbow and dragged me out of the house before I could do anything. Besides, I was outnumbered 2-1 and didn't want to risk hurting my child. All I could do was stand on the porch and cry while I said, "What? You're kicking me out, but I have no money. I gave you whatever was left because you said you paid for some hospital bills out of your pocket. Where will I go now? We don't care what happens to you. You have no place in our lives now that my son is dead. You better take you and your kids somewhere else," Luke replied. "You would do this to your own blood. This child is also your family, you know. I might be no one to you, but the child is your granddaughter," I pleaded. "We never wanted a granddaughter anyway. We won't allow you to use your child to weasel back into our lives. If you don't want to abort your child, you can die along with it," Ellen said coldly. Those were some of the last words that my mother-in-law and father-in-law spoke to me before closing the door on my face. I was already a crying mess and didn't know what to do. They kicked me out without even letting me get my clothes and stuff from the house. Hell, I didn't even have the documents that I needed. I felt so broken and helpless at that moment. I sat on the porch crying for about 20 minutes before Gina and Luke told me to leave. They said, "Why the hell are you still here? I told you to get off my property." "Please don't do this to me. I have nowhere to go. At least let me stay here until I get a job and move out. You have already mooched off of us enough," I pleaded. "It's time you leave and never come back. If you don't leave immediately, I will be calling the cops. Things will get even worse when we call the cops on you. If you know what's best for you, you need to leave," Gina and Luke threatened. That was what it took for them to get rid of me. I knew they were serious about calling the cops. I'd also doubted how much the police would side with me since my name wasn't on the lease. I was a sobbing mess and scared for mine and my kids' safety, so I did what I could in the situation and started to walk away. After walking for about 3 blocks, I knew what I had to do. I called Kathy, and the moment she answered my call, I started to bawl like crazy. My pregnancy hormones and emotions were all over the place, and I couldn't keep it in anymore. Somehow, I told her where I was but couldn't say anything else. Kathy was so alarmed at my crying and immediately drove to get me from where I was. She brought me to her home and comforted me. She tried to calm me down and reminded me that my excessive sobbing may end up hurting the baby. She did her best to make my tears stop and didn't push for any kind of information. She even made me some food and gave me a smoothie. When I finally calmed down, she said in a somber voice, "Tell me what's going on, Gina. I cannot see you in this condition. Did something happen?" "Yes, Kathy, something big happened," I replied. "I don't even know how to tell you everything, Gina. You know that no matter what, I would support you. You were family, and you have my niece in your belly. I'm going to make sure you are both okay. I promise I will do anything to help. Will you still help me when you know that your parents are involved?" Kathy went still when I mentioned that her parents were involved in this. For a moment, I thought that she was offended that I would dare to accuse them of something bad. However, she soon lost her stillness and looked at me with calm eyes. She said in a soothing voice, "What have my parents done, Gina? You don't have to be scared about offending me. I'm here for you no matter what. You need to tell me what's going on. Kathy, your parents have kicked me out of their house. They didn't even let me take my clothes." "What? My parents kicked you out of the house? But I don't understand why they would do that. I never told you anything." "They have been trying to make me get an abortion. They intentionally drove me to a clinic and were going to force me to have an abortion. Thankfully, the staff there understood the situation and didn't go against my words." Kathy looked extremely surprised when I basically told her everything. I looked into her eyes and could see the shock and anger in them. She was quiet for a few seconds before she shook her head and said, "I'm having a hard time believing this, Gina. You need to tell me more. Why would they do this?" "They didn't want me to have the baby. They think that they will be on the hook to take care of my baby and pay for her things. I tried to tell them that I would get a job, but they wouldn't listen. Oh God, what is wrong with them? Didn't my brother leave you some money before he died?" "Yes, he did leave me some money, but they took it away saying that he had some pending medical bills. I don't even have a penny on me now." "Kathy, what in the world are you talking about? There are no pending medical bills. There never were. I paid all of his bills, so it doesn't affect my parents. They didn't have to shell out any money. So they tricked me into giving them the little money I had left." The mere thought made me cry and break down in front of Kathy again. If I hadn't met Luke and Ellen, I wouldn't have known how cruel the world can be. They took advantage of my vulnerable state and scammed me out of money. They had no problem stealing from their late son's wife, who was pregnant with their first grandchild. Those two were completely evil. They would do anything for money. That was proved time and again. Kathy sat silently beside me as I cried again. After some time, she said, "I'm so sorry, Gina. I had no idea they would do this to you. Everything happened so fast, I didn't remember to inform you about the bills." No, Kathy, please don't apologize to me. I should thank you for taking care of all the medical bills. I would have drowned in debt if it wasn't for you. I did what any family would do, Gina, although judging by my parents' behavior, I can't say the same for everyone. I always knew that my parents were a greedy bunch, but I never imagined them to go this far. I begged them to house me for a few days until I got a job. They didn't even grant me that small favor. They kicked me out and threatened to call the cops on me if I didn't leave their property. That's why I walked away and called you when I was a safe distance away. Oh God, this is just plain horrible. Don't worry, Gina. You are not alone. You have me now. What my parents did is absolutely despicable. They will not get away with it. I promise you that, Gina. Kathy calmed me down while she called her parents. She said that she wanted to hear it in person. It wasn't like she didn't believe me. She simply wanted to see what excuses her parents would come up with. She said, "Mom, Dad, is it true that you kicked Gina out?" What? Why would we do that, Kathy? Perhaps because she didn't get a freaking abortion like you asked her to. Am I right, Mom and Dad? Kathy, you're misunderstanding us. We didn't mean any harm. We were just... What? Tell me what you were thinking when you tried to make Gina get rid of your own granddaughter. What kind of monsters are you? Kathy yelled at her mom. When it became clear that they did everything that I told her about, just hearing them trying to justify their actions was enough to break my heart all over again. Even after being shouted at by their own daughter, Luke and Ellen continued to make excuses and said, "Kathy, you will not talk to us that way. We were doing what was best for us. Our son is no longer alive, so we shouldn't have to bear the burden of his wife and kid. It's not fair on us. Yeah, we have worked hard for this retirement. We already sacrificed many months taking care of our son. We don't have any obligation to take care of his family now. We have done enough already. We deserve to enjoy our retirement too, Kathy. We worked hard for it. We cannot afford to look after a child right now. If Gina doesn't get an abortion, I'm sure she will shackle us with the child's responsibilities. Your father is right, Kathy. You should listen to us and kick her out too. Trust me, if you let her stay, she will sink her claws into you and bleed you dry. Just leave her out on the streets and let her fend for herself. It'll make her come to her senses. I couldn't believe that Gina and Luke were still trying to get rid of me and my child. They were actually trying to convince Kathy to kick me out and leave me to fend for myself. Their words made me tear up again, and I started to think that there was no hope left for me and my child. Just when I thought that all hope was gone, Kathy angrily said to her parents, "What on earth is wrong with you guys? How can you speak about your own daughter-in-law and grandchild like that? Also, what hard work are you even talking about? You retired early only because I gave you money for rent and bills. This has nothing to do with hard work. We are grateful for your help, Kathy. That's why we're saving you from being financially crippled by a stupid woman and her stupid baby. I knew Gina would end up on your doorstep and try to get your money. Listen to me, dear. You have no obligation to help out Gina and her child. Your brother is already dead, so you have no relationship with Gina anymore. Just get rid of her. Yeah, we'll even cover for you and tell everyone that Gina left of her own will. No one will know that we kicked her out. No, I will do nothing of the sort. I am not shameless and evil like you two. I can't believe you two gave birth to me. I am thoroughly disgusted by your behavior." Now it was time for Luke and Ellen to be surprised. Kathy had never talked to them in this tone. I could tell that my sister-in-law was extremely mad and was ready to wreak havoc on her family. She loved my husband a lot and always told me that I was like a sister to her. Kathy was proving to me just how much she meant those words. She yelled at her parents while they sounded flustered. "What are you saying, Kathy? We are your parents, so you can't talk to us like this. Yes, we raised you better than that. Kathy, you better watch your tone." "No, I will not watch my tone when I'm talking to such soulless people like you. Yes, you raised me right, but forgot to follow your own teachings. Honestly, I can't believe what you did to Gina. You two are disgusting. We are doing this to protect our assets and yours as well. You are villainizing us unnecessarily." "Oh, really, Dad? You want to protect our assets? Tell me, what assets will you have when I stop helping you financially?" Now this was a big blow to Luke and Ellen. They had never imagined that their own daughter would threaten to pull out her financial assistance for me. I was also surprised that Kathy was willing to take such a stand for me. Luke and Ellen absolutely refused to believe what Kathy was saying. "What are you talking about, Kathy? Are you threatening us?" "I'm not threatening you, Dad. I'm telling you what I will be going to do." "Are you saying that you will cut off your financial assistance for that stupid woman?" "She is not stupid, Mom. And yes, I will do exactly that. Gina and my niece need me more than you two, who were perfectly capable of taking care of yourselves." "Kathy, you can't do this. Listen to me." "No, I'm done listening to you guys. You have already taken advantage of me. I won't let you do that anymore. Gina and my niece will get my help now. Looks like you will have to come up with the money for your rent and bills now." Luke and Gina were stunned and weren't expecting their day to turn out horribly wrong. What started off as a mission to kick me out ended up being a trap for them to lose their own house. The duo were now trying to backpedal and said, "You're being very unreasonable, Kathy. Fine, if you want to help them out so badly, we will take Gina in. Just send her over. We will figure things out. Yeah, we will manage somehow. Gina can come back and stay with us. We won't push her to get an abortion or something." "I don't know about that, Gina. What do you think?" Kathy was letting me take the stage and set things in place. She was smiling at me and hinting that it was my time to make Luke and Ellen pay for what they did. So I calmed myself down and said, "I don't know what to think." Luke and Ellen behaved horribly with me. They didn't even apologize to me for their behavior. You hear that, Mom, Dad? It's such a shame that you didn't even apologize. Okay, Gina. We apologize for what we tried to do. We take it all back. Yeah, we're sorry, Gina. Why don't you come home so that we can make it up to you? I don't know, guys. I also can't get over the fact that you scammed me out of my late husband's money, even though Kathy had paid all the bills. Oh yes, we can't forget about that one. What was that all about, Mom, Dad? Why don't you hurry up and send money through PayPal? Luke and Ellen were slowly getting trapped in their own sick and twisted plan. I took this opportunity to get back at them for all this stress and trauma that they put me through, and I wanted my money back as well. They didn't deserve to take my money when they did nothing for my husband whatsoever. Luke and Ellen immediately sent the money back after hanging up on us. Then they called Kathy back and said, "There, I sent Gina the money back. All is good now. We can just go back to how things were." I was actually thinking about setting up a nursery in Luke's study. Gina can decide everything when she comes back. Hold on, guys. Gina hasn't said if she wants to forgive you. Oh, she'll forgive us. We're family, after all. This is just a minor fight. I'm sure we will come back stronger from this, isn't it, Gina? Luke and Ellen were now expectantly waiting for me to tell them that they were forgiven. The entitlement of those two horrible humans was really getting on my nerves. They thought that offering a mild apology and returning the money that they stole from me would be enough to forget everything. Well, they were dead wrong. No, you are not my family, and I definitely don't forgive you. In fact, I will never forgive you for what you tried to do. But we apologize and returned your money, Gina. Your granddaughter would want us in her life. I'm sure you want your child to grow up surrounded by family. Don't pour my child into your mess. My child doesn't need grandparents who didn't want her in the first place. My decision is final. I would have forgiven you for trying to throw me out, but I cannot forgive you for trying to make me get rid of my baby. There, problem solved, guys. Gina said that she doesn't forgive you. You didn't want to shoulder her burden. I will do that for you. In return, I will be terminating my financial contribution to you. Luke and Ellen absolutely freaked out and started to beg me and Kathy to change our minds. It was pathetic, but also satisfying to see them suffer the consequences of their own actions. They cried and even tried to guilt-trip us, but nothing worked. Kathy told them that she would drop by the house to get my stuff, and after that she was done with them. Oh, she also said that she would be contacting the cops to accompany her, so that Ellen and Luke could not withhold my belongings from her as promised. Kathy got and retrieved my stuff. She did take a cop along with her who happened to be her boyfriend, who we didn't know about apparently. Luke and Ellen still cried and tried to beg Kathy for another chance. I had already blocked them by then. Kathy also took the liberty of informing all her extended family about what happened. Let's just say that they were not impressed with my in-laws and decided to support me instead. In the months that followed up to my giving birth, I was surrounded by love and care. I also got a job through a friend of mine, and I'm due to start as soon as my kid is old enough to be left in daycare. I'm staying with Kathy for the time being and hope to get my own place soon. However, Kathy insists on me saving up so that I can just buy a small house and secure my future permanently. Her boyfriend has been a huge help too. I got a restraining order against Alan and Luke after getting witnesses' statements from the abortion clinic, so they can't come near me and my child anymore. My baby daughter is now healthy, and so am I. She has my husband's dark eyes, which made me cry the first time I saw them. Kathy has been a huge help and has cut off her parents indefinitely. From what she told me, Luke and Ellen ended up moving to a small apartment and going back to work due to financial problems. Karma did come back for them, and now they are finding themselves in the position that they wanted me to be in.